Assalamu alaikum students, welcome back to Global Public School online classes. In this class, we are going to start a new chapter from your ninth standard from the history, chapter 2, that's medieval India. So let's study. In the earlier lesson, in the first lesson, we studied about the introduction of the Christianity, and we also studied about the introduction of the Islam. And in this lesson we are going to study how India was invaded with lot of other kings apart from the local kings, and what and all, how the religion of Islam, how the religion of Christianity came into India, and what was the reason behind that, which are the kings who have actually ruled India, that we're going to study in this. And what do we call the transition period as, all that we're going to study here. Let's go to the lesson, the chapter 2 of the history, medieval India and the political transition. So students, let's see what are we going to study in this lesson. The quick recap, the quick points of the lesson. The Rajput dynasties that are ruled in the North India. Sorry, there is a small spelling mistake. The contributions of Rajput kings to the literature, art and the architecture. The arrival of Turks, the impact of Muhammad Ghazni and the Muhammad Ghori's invasions, and the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate. So these are the points is what we are going to study in this lesson. But I'm sure you have a doubt about the transitional period, right students? Not to worry, let's understand that. So here, see, the period between the second half of the 12th century and the first half of the 13th century is what we call it as the transition period in the Indian history. The mid of 12th century and in the beginning of the 13th century, the first half of the 13th century is what we call it as, that 100 years is what we call it as the transitional period. Why do we call that? Let's see here. The transitional period indicates the preparedness of the society to enter from one era to the another era. In this period, what happened, it was a kind of a preparedness what the people had done, the society, from one society to enter into the another society, to enter from one era to the another era. So in this transitional period, the Indian society entered a medieval period from the ancient period. Initially they were following their ancient religion, ancient values. In this period, the transitional period, they entered into the medieval period. Most of the kings invaded India. So the Turks broke the political system of the small kingdoms, and they also established an empire which had a strong centralized power structure. Monotheism, ruling by only one king across the many places, was an expounded in the field of religion due to the influence of Islam. All these developments indicate that the beginning of medieval period in India, the second half of the 12th century and the first half of the 13th century, is what we call it as the period of medieval in India. So let's see what and all the different dynasties which is come under this. The first thing what we are going to study here is of Rajput dynasty. So Rajput dynasty is also having the different families among them. So after the rule of Vardhanas, Shatavahanas, Shatanavireshwara, most of the western and the northern India was actually ruled by the Rajput dynasty. So let's see what are the different sub families of the Rajput dynasties are here. Gurjara Prathiharas, Bundelkhand Chandelas, Garhwalas, Solankis, Paramaras, and many other Rajput dynasties. Among these 5 dynasties, the Gurjara Prathiharas, the Garhwalas, Solankis and the Paramaras are the most famous among them. So let's study that in detail one by one. So the first thing which we are going to study about that is here, Gurjara Prathiharas. These are the people which they actually ruled here, which is quite relevant in the place of the Rajasthan and the Gujarat side places. So Mihara, Boja and Mahendrapala is the main persons of this Gurjara Prathiharas. The founder of this dynasty is Nagabhatta. Nagabhatta is the founder of this dynasty. The capital of this dynasty was Kanauj, and the powerful kings of this dynasty was Nagabhatta, Mihara Bhoja, and Mahendrapala is the famous kings among this dynasty. The founder of Gurjara Prathiharas are Nagabhatta. The capital of that Gurjara Prathiharas were Kanauj, and the famous kings were Nagabhatta, Mihara Bhoja, and the Mahendra Pala is the famous king in the Gurjara Prathiharas. The last king in this kingdom was Mahipala. Mahipala was the last king in this kingdom. And see how exactly from where to where they actually ruled here. The Prathiharas ruled from Sindh region by keeping Kanauj as their capital city. You can see here they have ruled, Gurjara Prathiharas is what they have ruled here, from the Sindh region to the, from this region Sindh to the Kanauj. By keeping the Kanauj as their capital, they have actually ruled in that particular place. And they fought back the frequent Arab attacks. Frequently the Arabs were attacking on this dynasty, and they were fighting back to back. I mean, they were frequently fighting on the Arab attacks which was happening in the Gurjara Prathiharas. And here the Mihara Bhoja and Mahendrapala, you can see Mahendrapala and Mihara Bhoja, the powerful rulers of this dynasty, had defeated with Palas of Bengal and had extended their Pratihara kingdom till Bengal. They tried to fight with Bengal, and they were trying to extend their empire from the from their places to the Bengal side. And the most famous kings among them were Mihara Bhoja and Mahendra Pala. And an Arab traveler named Suleiman had visited the court of Mihara Bhoja. So here there was one Arab traveler who had visited during this time was Suleiman. Suleiman was the name of the visitor. So that's all about the Gurjara Prathiharas. Let's talk about the next dynasty in the Rajput dynasty, that is Garhwalas. The Garhwalas, the founder of this Garhwalas was Chandradeva. You can see here from where to where this dynasty was actually established. The capital of this dynasty was Varanasi. Varanasi was the capital of this dynasty. You can see how exactly the Tibetans and all that kingdom have tribes here. So Chandradeva is the founder of this Garhwalas, and Varanasi is the capital. The famous kings among these kingdom is Govinda Chandra. The last king of this dynasty was Jayachandra. Jayachandra is the last king of this dynasty, and the famous king in this dynasty was Govinda Chandra. The founder of this was Chandradeva, and the capital of the Garhwalas is Varanasi. These are the two sub families of the Rajput dynasties. And Govinda Chandra extended his rule from Malwa and Magadha by defeating the Palas. Palas is from the Gurjara Prathiharas. And he also defeated the kings of Kalinga and Odisha. Kalinga's kings, initially Bindusara, Ashoka, who were there. These people have also fought with them. The rules of Kashmir, Gujarat and Chola had cordial relationship with Govinda Chandra. So this was the contribution. This is the kingdom of the Garhwalas. And the next dynasty in the Rajput dynasty which is coming up here is Paramaras. Paramaras is the dynasty which is where the founder of this dynasty is Upendra Krishna Raja. The capital of this dynasty is Dharanagara. Dharanagara is the capital of this dynasty, and the famous king of this Paramaras is Bhoja. The famous king here is Bhoja, and the last king is Arjun Varman. There's no more famous kings here. Only the one famous king here is Bhoja. The initial king was Upendra Krishna Raja. The final king of this dynasty was Arjuna Varman. And see how exactly they have mentioned here. Bhoja is the main popular king of the Paramar dynasty. You can see the Bhoja, the picture, I mean the statue of Bhoja, who is actually belongs to the Paramaras dynasty, and he extended his empire from the Parmar state by defeating Chalukyas of Kalyana, Kalingas, Gangas, and the northern Konkans. So they have defeated with that kings and also extended his empire. Though Bhoja experienced high downs in the political sphere, he remained undefeated in the area of literature, because he was not that great in the area of literature. He himself was a poet. Sorry, a small mistake here, students. Though Bhoja experienced a high downs in the political sphere, he himself was a great hero in the area of literature, and he himself was a poet, and he has written so many books which is also a famous from the Paramaras. So the three dynasties which we studied in the Rajput family here is Gurjara Prathiharas, Paramaras, Garhwalas. These are the three famous dynasties of the Rajput dynasty which we have studied in this class. The Solankis or the Chandelas, which we are going to study in our next class. Students, I want you to write the detailed information about these three dynasties from the explanatory notes, and I want you to submit that through the Google Classroom app. If you have any doubt, you can feel free to ask any questions, and you can message me in the Google Classroom app if you have any doubts. And if you have understood also, you can just let me know about it. And till then, signing off. Students, take care, stay safe, and keep your learning button